let's get it going, baby. Let's get it going, baby. And we have got it going, son. Hey guys, how you going today? BKRsport. We're here for our power rankings. Now, obviously, the Rugby League World Cup has finished for the first week. I need to clarify that. I nearly said the whole thing. We're only 1 week down now, but we've gone through all the games and all the teams, and today's video we're going to be doing a power rankings where we're going to be going through each individual team and ranking them in order of where we would have them at this current moment of the tournament. Now, this is very perspective based, guys. You may have something different. Most of them are going to be probably agreeable. Most of them will be agreeable, but you've got to remember, you can't just look at one game. You can't just look at the first game and make a gigantic change, right? Like, for example, you know, you can't have, for example, if Australia had a loss, you wouldn't be putting them from first all the way down to 16th. You'd be keeping them around that top 3 area, but obviously because of the impressive performance by England, you'd be still having them up around that area. It doesn't, just because a team loses doesn't mean that they're going to be completely off it, and just because a team wins doesn't mean that they're going to completely rise. You've got to take into a lot of factors. What did the team look like coming into this tournament? Did they look like that team we thought they were going to be? How much did they win by? Who is their opponent is a big one here. That's a big one. Who was their opponent that they took on to kind of get an idea for where they're at? Because, like, for example, right, let's go to the draw here and see the teams that have played so far. So, obviously, you know, we saw England Samoa. That was a big game there. But then you go and have a look at the likes of Ireland taking on Jamaica, who, look, they only beat Jamaica. Let's be honest with you. Let's wait and see kind of where they're at first, because I can't really make a great deal of a... I can't be putting them anywhere near the top at the moment, because right now there's still a long way to go for them to prove to me they're a legit team. They took on a team that more than likely, as you'll see over here, will more than likely be down in that bottom area, right? So you've got to take that into perspective, and you've just got to kind of also weigh in, do you think they're better than another team, right? It's a really difficult process where it is very perspective based, but we're going to get into it today. We're going to have some fun. Tomorrow morning, obviously, we'll be back on live at 4 AM for the Australia versus Scotland game, which should be great. Obviously, today was a bit of a rest day, and then we're back into week 2 tomorrow. Australia versus Scotland, and then a huge day tomorrow night. But let's see what you guys say in the chat first, and then we'll get straight on into it. Obviously, smack that thumbs up button, guys. Subscribe if you're new around here. You guys have been showing a heap of love for the channel lately, and I appreciate it. But let's see what you guys are saying. Meatmans, Australia is going to win the World Cup, sorry. Fair enough, man. You know, I still think they're definitely the favourites. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, they had a game against Fiji where they did win, which was great to see. But yeah, it would take a gigantic effort for me to stop believing in the fact that they are the favourites in this competition. Obviously, Nathan Cleary playing this week, and there's a lot of guys to be added into the team. Debuts, rookies, and it should be a really interesting team lineup this week. We've already seen it, but it should be a really interesting way of how that game's going to play out, because Australia should obviously win by a lot against Italy. But then again, Italy had a very good game against Scotland, so maybe they might be... No, sorry, Scotland. They're playing Scotland tomorrow, Italy next week. So they're playing Scotland, who got trounced by Italy last week, so they really should be winning by a big margin. But we'll see how they obviously go. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Peace versus Nut Greece, cool. Harry says New Zealand, and Crazy New Zealand calling people Muppets. There you go. But alright, guys, let's get into it. Let's get straight into it here so that we can start railing through. And the first one here is going to be number 16. Let's get that one off the board, and that's going to be Jamaica. So I think, obviously, that's a pretty obvious one. Jamaica is going to come in the 16th spot in the power rankings. I don't think they were overall unimpressive. I thought they did well for what, obviously, we know Jamaica to be. They're a brand new team in this competition. They've never played the World Cup before. They debuted. They're actually pretty fun to watch through most part, but obviously just couldn't really score. They got 2 points, which was great to see. They lost 48-2 to Ireland. Ireland aren't exactly a spectacular team themselves, but they did the job. They did the job there. And Jamaica, unfortunately, did get technically trounced on the scoreboard 48-2, which I guess is very... we knew that was happening. We knew that was going to be happening there. So... yeah, I think that it's pretty obvious with Jamaica to be in that 16th spot, and if they had have won, they still wouldn't have been jumping up a great deal, because we need to see a consistent level of scores and improvement for them to be jumping up a few of these other teams. But yeah, look, Jamaica, maybe long term down the track, maybe they could turn it around a little bit. This week, they take on, who's Jamaica taking on this week? I think it's New Zealand, isn't it? No, yeah, it is New Zealand. New Zealand versus Jamaica at 4:30 AM on Sunday. So they're probably going to be sticking down to this spot. If they beat New Zealand, then they'll rocket up quite a few. Because that is a gigantic result against a really, really big team, well and truly above them. So yes, I've got Jamaica at 16. Do you guys have any disagreements with that? Colonial Commander Blind says Jamaica is a smoky. Well, they're definitely smoking something. Crazy New Zealand says Jamaica will go wild if they score a try this week. Yeah, I'll go wild if they score a try this week. Going up against New Zealand, mate. Like, they shouldn't be scoring at all against the Kiwis, but obviously, it's 80 minutes. Hopefully, maybe New Zealand slack off at one stage, and we see the Jamaicans find a way to score a try. Maybe Ashton Golding to get something. But Ashton Golding wasn't exactly my number one player in that game, to be completely honest with you. I thought he would play fine. But it was just an interesting game, and we're never going to see too much from the Jamaicans. Like, we're going to see them do their best, and we're going to see them go up against and try and get a try, obviously. But Moagoro was actually one that I looked at quite a lot there on the wing there, opposite Dom Young's brother in Alex Young. Look, obviously their spine's never really going to get anything done there. But I do have hope for the future, and I hope that maybe one day that Jamaica can turn this into a national sport. Obviously, the West Indies didn't even make the World Cup in cricket for the first time in their history today. So maybe they can start focusing on rugby league now that they're actually in the World Cup in this tournament. But alright, let's move on to the next one. Yeah, NRL Stars says, have you seen the odds for the New Zealand versus Jamaica game? Of course I have, but that's fair enough. Like, it's not surprising at all. 251 to 1 is probably unders. It should be 501 to 1 to be completely honest with you. But let's move on now to number 15, and that is going to be the Greeks. It is going to be the Greeks there, guys. Look, I know that a lot of people might have been thinking that Scotland could have been coming up there after their previous performance, but look, the Greeks still did lose, and they still did lose by a decent enough amount there to the French. It was 34-12. Look, they scored 2 tries. That's cool. That's great. I'm really looking forward to seeing the improvement. I actually really do believe that Greece does have a future in rugby league. I think the way that they played, I love that try from Nick Mougios. Lachlan Ilias was fine. And I think that it was a decent performance there, considering that they went up against a decent France. Don't overrate France here. France didn't play a great deal well, and France obviously got pumped in that warm-up match before the World Cup did start there. Greece obviously did score a couple of tries here, which shouldn't have been happening. If you're France, you would have been expecting the likes of Arthur Morgan, Tony Gigot to be getting a little bit more there, but Tony Gigot had a pretty terrible game for mine. Arthur Morgan was okay though. But yeah, look, if I was looking at the team, Nick Mougios played well. Johnny Mitsias, I actually really liked watching him play as well. Ilias, Jordan Meades did what he could. Peter Mumble-Zealots loved him out of the hooker role there for the Greeks. And look, like I said, first time in the tournament, congratulations to them. I do genuinely have hope for them into the future. But they're not going to be going too highly up here, guys. They won't be going too highly up. But in the same sense, if they get a win this week, who are they taking on? The Greeks are going to be taking on Samoa this week. If they win that game, Samoa's going to be going to 16th, let's be honest with you. But yes, Greece should be getting pumped in that game. They shouldn't be expecting to win. They're 81 to 1 odds. Fair enough there. But Samoa looking for a bounce back game, and I wouldn't expect Greece to be too high up on anybody's power rankings just at the moment. Clone Commander says, bro, how is Samoa not in 15th? You're going to be surprised where they are then, because that's not how power rankings work. Power rankings don't work based on 1 week, mate. Playing Rugby says, how is Scotland not 15th? Yeah, they'll come soon, don't you worry. Guys, you've got to remember, again, perspective-based, but secondly, you've got to take in a lot of accounts here. You can't just look at one score and one game. Like, Australia beat Fiji 42 to 8 or whatever it was, right? If you're looking at that game, you can put them technically down in 5, right? But you're not going to do that. You've got to see where these teams were based off going into the tournament, and then you have to rank them accordingly. We've seen one game here, lads. The team who lost in this first week can still win the World Cup. They have to win 2 of the 3 pool games, right? Just because Samoa lost 1 game to England does not mean they're not going to go and win the next 2 games. Samoa are not going to take a drastic drop-off. It's silly to put Samoa down the bottom of the table here. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So if you're going based off 1 game, then cool, put Samoa on 16th. But we're not going based off 1 game here. This is a lot of perspective based in regards to this team coming into the tournament. We're talking about the game that's just been had. Yes, Samoa will drop off a couple of places, but they're not going to get down to 16th. That's ridiculous. It's just silly. And Scotland, we'll get to Scotland. Brian Roberts says, because the team they played Cologne compared to others. Mac says Samoa can still turn it around. Absolutely. Cologne Man says Samoa favourites against England. We'll talk about Samoa, but if you think that it's surprising they're not in the bottom 2, geez, you're going to be waiting a long time, because they're on this side. They're definitely on the 8th side of the scale. Aaron says, yeah, 1 game means absolutely nothing. Mena says powering for week 1. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not a power ranking for week 1. It's a power ranking. Gee whiz, a power ranking over all of Rugby League International right now, which obviously does include week 1 of the tournament. International Rugby League has not just been going on for 1 week. We've been seeing International Rugby League We know the players that have come into these teams. We know what these teams can produce. One game is not going to make me think that Samoa are now a bottom feeder. Like what? Samoa is still a tier 3, tier 2 team. Like they're still tier 2 technically, I believe. They're not down here with Greece and Jamaica. Like who's? If you think that Samoa of 1 week are now down with Greece and Jamaica, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. Colin Man says, yeah, but Samoa lost by 60, which is disgraceful. Bro, just let everyone else speak, because you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Sebastian Grammar says, good evening, mate. Absolutely spot on so far. Well, yeah, look, obviously people are going to disagree, but this one is just ridiculous to be saying Samoa should be down there with Greece and Jamaica. Anyway, Jazz says, yeah, someone should be 16 because Luai's a Muppet. Just because Luai's a Muppet, absolutely. But there we go. There's the top 2 there, guys. Already, I can't believe it's been controversial already. I cannot believe that someone would think it's been controversial already, considering it's Jamaica and Greece. But, you know, everyone's got their opinion, apparently. But all right, guys, let's move on to the number 14. Let's move on to number 14, and that is going to be Scotland. They obviously really did disappoint for me. I said to you guys on the stream that Italy were a really good shout to win that game. I could not believe their odds of like 5-1 or whatever it was. Scotland are a team that has a couple of NRL players here and there. Obviously, Ewan Aiken is probably their star guy, mixed with some pretty decent Super League talent there in Scotland. But yeah, I just looked at the Italy team and I said, there's quite a bit of NRL talent here, or rugby league talent in Australia, that you can really kind of get behind. Like, let's go through their team list here. Let's go quickly through their team list. You go, Luca Porcelli was fantastic, but, you know, Daniel Atkinson, he played very well. Jake Mason was incredible. I think he's on the Sunshine Coast Falcons, if I'm not mistaken. Very good player there. Jack Campagnola of the South Sydney Rabbitohs development. You've got Luca Moretti, who's at the Parramatta Eels, and might get a debut next year, to be honest with you. Then you've also got Nathan Brown as a very good player there. And they worked well. I looked at their team, I think they looked like they could work quite well here. But obviously they did. And Scotland got really done dirty there. And they just didn't look great at all. Lachlan Walmsley, for some reason people are saying he had a really good game. He ran a lot of metres, but he also made a lot of mistakes. I think Scotland, you know, that was their bread and butter game. They had to win that game to come third. Obviously, it's going to be Australia, and you'd assume Fiji in the top 2. So, yeah, it was a really disappointing performance there from Scotland. You could make an argument for them being below Greece, but in the same sense, they probably would beat Greece in my personal... Oh, maybe. I don't know. That's actually tough. Italy played pretty fast, though, which is not something that these Northern Hemisphere teams, like a Scotland or a Wales or whatnot, played like. And I know that Italy is a Northern Hemisphere team, but they played very much like a Southern Hemisphere, kind of throw the ball around, fast-paced, not grindy. It was actually really exciting to watch there for Italy. So, yeah, Scotland down there in number 14. I don't think there's many disagreements with that unless you want to put them even lower. Sebastian says, agreed, Scotland were the most shocking squad of round 1. I think they were the second biggest disappointment. Obviously, Samoa were the biggest disappointment after 1 week, but... yeah, I'd definitely say that Scotland was the second biggest disappointment. Ilusapeti Tonga says, why is everyone saying Tonga game was 13-15? Because the referees were very heavily involved in that game, but we won't be talking about that really today. Well, you might get it to when we speak about Tonga, but overall, yeah, we've got those 3. We've got those 3 there. They boys in Australia, New Zealand, and England will be the top 3 because of the history. Or maybe. We'll see where we go. But obviously, we'll get to them in a bit. But all right, let's move on to now the final team to round out the bottom 4, and that is going to be number 13, Wales. I actually was okay impressed by Wales. You know, obviously, they weren't the best team ever. They did give it to the Cook Islands for the first 60, but in the same sense, we all know the Cook Islands isn't that great themselves. The Cook Islands is absolutely a development team still, an emerging nation. The Cook Islands will eventually turn around maybe 15, 20 years down the track, which is a realistic time frame for the Cookies out there who don't really like that thought process of about 15, 20 years. Before you get to be a really good nation, it's gonna be a decent while. You know, wait 3-4 World Cups. But yeah, look, Wales obviously were very physical throughout the game, something that the Cook Islanders didn't exactly like. They had a couple of decent players in Ollie Oles, who was their 5'8". He didn't really get a great deal going though, but still, like, their forwards were probably the main focus point in the Welsh, which is definitely not surprising whatsoever. Yeah, they only lost by 6 points to Cook Islands, and actually came down to the final play that Wales could have scored as well. But obviously they didn't, and the Cookies did get the win there in the end, and they'll take that. But yeah, I think that a lot of people before the tournament would have started would have had Wales down there probably below Scotland for one. I think they probably would have just jumped up 1 spot here. I think they would have jumped up 1 spot based on the pre-tournament as well. Colin Commander says, give credit to Wales. They turn this matter of plumbers and shelf stackers at Tesco. That's a bit of a rude comment, but in the same sense, I get where you're coming from. They're obviously, a lot of the guys there play, I think, Championship Rugby League, which is obviously the second division down, a division lesser, which makes it really difficult going up against the big Donnies. But in the same sense, man, you've got to remember that they're going up against the Cook Islands, who don't exactly have a great deal of plethora of amazing talent themselves. In which they went against. They played Kyle Iro, who obviously was New South Wales Cup Player of the Year. Isan Muppet, who was a player at the Titans, Cowboys and Tigers, but was dreadful. Only plays well when he plays for the Cook Islands. Tepa Mangaroa, kind of NRL talent. Don Peru is Super League, but not. He used to be NRL, I guess. Zane Tavano, in and out NRL, or is he in the Super League now? I'm not too sure. So Brad Tagarani used to be a decent NRL player. Put him out of room. Makahesi Makatoa is regularly there for the Parramatta Eels. But overall, man, you look at it and you think that Wales obviously did come up against a definitely weaker team than they're about to come up against. They're going to come up against Papua New Guinea and Tonga. It's going to get a lot harder from here. So I thought that was an impressive game for them. That's why I've got them above Scotland right now, especially after they won. But in the same sense, there's still a lot of factors here that do warrant them to be down there. And I wasn't overly thrilled by Wales, but I was okay with them. Plain Robbie says, I agree, Wales were bad. I wouldn't say they were bad. I don't think they were bad by any means. Colin Man says it's that the Wales team is almost entirely part-time players. No, I'm very well aware of what you're trying to say. Dasmate says, I don't know how Wales bottled that try. Yeah, I know, they should have actually equalised. Wales actually had the equaliser within their grasp, but unfortunately just kind of didn't get the ball going. They didn't get the ball out there, and it just didn't work out for them. So it's unfortunate for them. It is very, very unfortunate for them. But they nearly pulled off a big upset, because I think they were paying like $5.50 as well as underdogs. And Wales this week, obviously, by the way, guys, Scotland versus Australia is tomorrow for the previous one. I will be streaming it, as you guys know. But Wales this week will be taking on Tonga. Good luck there, champion. They're 51-1 underdogs. Tonga should be getting a pretty considerable win there. Special Girls are back to the Welsh, and they didn't disappoint, to be fair. I think I wouldn't say they're disappointed. I wouldn't say they're disappointed. That's a fair enough assumption there. Man says, Wales used to be good in the 90s and early 2000s when they used to have union players play for them, but that ended when union went professional. Yeah, well, obviously, it is a lot more of a professional game there in union now. The Welsh are pretty decent in union, but they're still a little bit at a stalemate right now, a bit stale as we currently speak, but they're still very much into their rugby union. I think rugby union is their national sport anyway, so they're always going to take the precedence in regards to that one. All right, guys, let's move into the 12th position now. And we have got, the Cook Islands. Obviously, they're the ones who just beat Wales. I wasn't actually impressed with the Cook Islands at all, but I think we were all very well aware of that. To only just beat Wales was quite disappointing, but because they did beat Wales, you can't put them below the Welsh. It was okay. Obviously, Isan Muppet had a really good game, but that's because he only plays well when he actually gives a shit, and he gives us a shit about the Cook Islands. Besides that, I thought they were okay. I thought they were fine. Their forwards did not do well for the first half, but the second half they probably got a bit more of a chug going. Overall, the second half was really where they won that game, which is, I guess, obvious, but the fact of the matter is that they struggled against a really average Welsh team, so you would assume that when they take on the likes of Papua New Guinea this week, which is going to be a really tough game for them, especially physicality speaking wise, and then obviously Tonga the week after, oh boy, they're in for a tough time here, Cook Islands. So yeah, look, they obviously won this game. That means they'll probably come third. If they can beat one of Papua New Guinea or Tonga, that'd be incredible. They probably do make the second week, the quarterfinals, but I can't see them going past the group stages, to be completely honest with you. Client Commander says, remember when Isan Masters played for the Kiwis? He briefly did, I think. Yeah, he briefly did play for the Kiwis. He was okay back in the day. And like I said, when he plays for the Cook Islands, man, so I'm just scratching. And when he plays for the Cook Islands, he actually does show like he does give a shit. But it's just unfortunate that I have this real disdain for him from his attitude that when he was at the Gold Coast Titans and the way that he really wouldn't show any kind of effect after what we would see in a game, where he would be at results of like 3 or 4 tries down his wing, and he would then be laughing with other players. I reached out to him and I said, oh, listen, man, I'll have a chat with you if you want to know why I find that so disrespectful, and so many people do. The fans do find that. But obviously he just blanked me. But watches every one of my stories though, so obviously does keep up to date with what I'm doing. But didn't want to obviously reply to that one. But yeah, look, I think that overall the Cook Islands, they didn't impress me much at all, but they got the win, so they definitely have to go above Wales. Elisabeth says, can't wait for Tonga to face Samoa. Let's go Tonga. Well, they might not play yet. Like, there's still a long way to go. There still could be results that surprise. But it looks very likely that Tonga will be playing Samoa in the quarterfinals at this point. Very likely. Huia says, Felice Kafusi's playing for Tonga. Yeah. He's still in the NRL, Clone Commander says. I don't think so. I think he went to Huddersfield. I think he moved to Huddersfield, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong though, but he definitely went to the Super League. What if Clone's Isan Masters? It's a possibility, because Isan does watch all my bloody damn well stories. Don't follow me. But he probably does. I'm happy to bury the hatchet if the guy would, reach out and say, you know what, listen, I understand where you're coming from. Because I just, you guys know me with my Titans. I'm very defensive of my team, and I thought that if we're going to pay you to play and you're going to laugh after a loss of 50 points where you conceded 4 tries, I just think that's ridiculous on the middle of the field. Do I know Matama'a Tonga? Dude, what do you mean do I know Matama'a Tonga? I stream every single game here. Of course I know Matama'a Tonga. So says, at first I thought Samoa would be good, but after the game against England I changed my mind. Okay, man. Alright, so who do Wales play again this week? Cook Islands play this week. Cook Islands, I believe, are taking on Papua New Guinea, which is going to be a tough one, man. $1.18 Papua New Guinea, $5 in Cook Islands. I find those ridiculous odds. I find that it should be like $1.02. It should be I'd say $1.05 for Papua New Guinea. They should be very heavy favourites there. Very heavy favourites there. Fulatika says, Isan is a great player, Gold Coast is just a retirement village. That's absolutely incorrect, because you know why? Because he wasn't great at anywhere besides the Cook Islands. So, thanks for coming. But alright, let's move on now to number 11 here. Let's move on to number 11, and we're going to go with the French. Now, people might find this surprising. You may find it surprising, but I, overall, wasn't a great deal impressed with the French. Look, they took on Greece, and they were expected to win this game. They won 34-12. I think that the French were always around this area, because we've got some really big teams to come, so it's not like it's a massive drop-off or anything like that, but I was not impressed with the French here. They took on a team they were expected to win quite well against. They only won 34-12, and Greece looked pretty solid throughout. It was actually relatively, a close game for the most part. I don't think it was. Right, Robert says, oh no, it's Falu, that's Isan Masters. Yeah, Isan's in the chat. Falu Tika, that's Isan right there. There you go. Hello, Isan. How you doing, big fella? But alright, so yeah, France, look, they just didn't impress me, man. Tony Jojo was terrible with the kicking game. I think that there are better teams out there, but I do think this team can, I guess, rectify their issues, but they shouldn't have been struggling against Greece. If they're struggling against Greece, they're not going to beat England this week. They're 26-1 underdogs against England. I think that's actually short odds. I think they should be about 50-1 odds against England. But then apparently France have a decent enough record against the English, where they usually lose, but not by a hectic amount. So yeah, they'll lose that game, and I think they'll lose that game by a bit more than people expect. But yeah, that's maybe a controversial one there, because France did still technically win, and there are losers that are above France here. But I wasn't impressed. Sebastian said, I disagree here. Italy have momentum after that win, but they're no better than France. Well, we'll get to them. I'll explain my thoughts in a second. Clonkerman says, the thing with PNG is that they can beat any team, but also lose any team. I don't necessarily believe that Papua New Guinea can necessarily beat Australia or New Zealand, but in the same sense, that's just our opinion. Jared Forces goes Samoa. Slap says they need to eat more snails. Okay. Clonkerman says France have been training really hard lately. Keep an eye on them. Well, look, they can easily rise. They can definitely easily rise, man. But for the time being, I'm pretty happy to put them down here. And I know Sebastian has his thought process about Italy potentially being below them, but we'll get to them in a second, and I'll explain my thought process behind it. But yeah, look, they're not exactly completely out of it. This is where they're going to be. There's no way you'd have France in the top 8 teams pre-World Cup, and there's no way you would have France in the top 8 teams right now. So realistically speaking, we're only differentiating by about 1 to 3 spots, and I don't think that's too crazy. Society says France should rest players for the Tonga for the Samoa game. If France rest players for the Samoa game, they're going to get absolutely schlapparonos there. People have severely underestimated Samoa now because of that loss to England. Dan says, I think France should be slightly better than Ireland and Italy. The team is mostly built of Catalan players, which is a premier team in the Super League. Well, then why didn't they impress against a Greek team that was debuting at the tournament and the sport was banned in their country 6 months ago? Like, Greece had their country had rugby league banned 6 months ago. It was illegal to play the game in Greece until 6 months ago. And France didn't necessarily put them away as they should have. You know, they didn't, and they conceded 2 tries to this team. So that's my issue here. That's my big issue here. I'm happy to improve France if they do well. Even if they lose against England, they could still rise depending on how bad their loss is. This is the thing with power rankings, guys. Things can change regardless of if you win or lose, because other teams might lose worse than you, and you might be like, oh, that was actually a pretty decent loss. Like Lebanon. Lebanon had a pretty decent loss against New Zealand. So things can change in regards to you going up despite maybe not getting the result that you were necessarily after. But alright, let's go now into the next team, which I think is pretty obvious here, which is going to be Italy. They're not going to be too far up there, so this is the thing. We all know that this is very close with each other. By the way, France this week take on England, as I said. But they're all very close here. These ones here from 9 down to maybe 12. Yeah, I'd say 9 and 12 are pretty much the same number here, effectively, especially 10 to 12. But Italy, I actually do have a little bit above France, and I think that was a very impressive win for them. They were not the favourites of that game. They had some sneaky little NRL talent there, rugby league talent in Australia. Luke Posselli played fantastic. Jake Mason, hat-trick. Jack Campagnolo was just a killer with a boot, 4 from 5 there. I think that Nathan Brown was absolutely unreal in the lock, and I think that people are underestimating Italy. I think they played a really fast game, and I genuinely believe that they weren't in a group with Australia and Fiji, that they could actually, put a little bit of a push in regards to making that second round. I think that people underestimated them in that first week, and I think people are going to underestimate them for the rest as well. They play Fiji this week, which I've got Fiji to win. Sorry. I've got Fiji to win here, but I also think that Italy could match it in regards to the speed in a lot of areas. I think that if Italy don't lose by over 30 to 40 points to Fiji, I think this proves my point. If they lose by over 40 points, then yes, okay, I'm happy to put them below France. But for the time being, I'm pretty happy with Italy, just that little bit above the French, because I was super excited by the way they played. The momentum they are going to have from that game is also surreal, and I think their team is actually severely underrated based on the individual talent they do have. Dennis, I think the same argument could be made for Australia against Fiji. I think going into the World Cup, France was on paper a better team, and whilst they let in tries, they got the job done. Whilst, yes, they were still never going to be above the likes of the other top 8 teams that are here. So this is all just very in the moment kind of dealing right now with these teams. But with these teams here, Italy probably... I really do believe people are underestimating the shit out of this Italy team. I think that people are severely underestimating this Italian team. I look at this team and I think it's actually pretty good. I just think there's no way they can get through over the likes of Australia and Fiji. But if they beat Fiji, then people are going to be like, whoa, wait a second here, because obviously that will progress them, sorry. But I don't know why I'm confident so much. But yeah, look, I'm a big believer in kind of the way that Italy played, especially as a massive underdog. Sebastian says, good point made. As a round 1 power ranking, Italy just edged the French, but they would lose in a head-to-head contest. Maybe, mate. Maybe, but I genuinely wouldn't put it past Italy to win that game too. I wouldn't. Jackson says, Aussie don't look good, but that's just my opinion. You don't know what you're talking about. Brian Zago says, don't look good yet. We beat a decent team by 34. Yeah, Jackson, you don't know what you're talking about. Luke says, we do a power ranking every week. I will. Yeah, I'll come back same time next week on Friday, and I'll do the exact same thing. But yes, so the game that Italy do have this week is against Fiji. So this is, at least for them, they don't have to play Australia until the last round. I don't think they beat Fiji this week, but I'm just throwing it out there. Italy are not as bad as people are making them out to be. They played fast footy, they played great footy, and I really did enjoy them. Alright, number 9 here. We go to number 9, and that is going to be Lebanon. Lebanon here. They do fall out just out of the top 8 here, because there are still better teams than them. I was impressed with how the Lebanese played. I was, right? They played a good team in New Zealand, and I think they were fine. I think that if they win this week, which I would assume they do, I think that they're going to... I actually still believe that they are probably better than Ireland. But in the same sense, Ireland did get a 48-2 win, whilst Lebanon did lose to New Zealand. And I think that they're going to improve drastically. I'm happy with them being here for the time being, but I know that they're on the up in comparison. I would love to put Lebanon higher, but I just can't do it just yet. They did score the first try of the match in the first minute of the game. Did pretty much nothing for the rest of that first half there, as New Zealand scored 3 tries. And the second half was actually the big improvement there for Lebanon. The first half was actually quite a disappointment overall, because they scored that 1 try in the first minute and they did nothing for the rest and let in 3 tries to New Zealand. Moses was dreadful. Moses was horrific in that game. But I do like the way this team is set up here. Obviously, Dewey is going to be out too with that send-off as well, which is frustrating for them. I don't know who now comes in to play in that 5'8" role, but geez, unless has the team list come out? Has the team list come out here for Lebanon? No, it'll be on Sunday, so that team list probably won't come out until... tomorrow, I would say. But yeah, look, I was quietly pleased with them, but I need to see a lot more from them. And obviously, that doesn't give me a good reading because it was against New Zealand, and New Zealand did still win the game. But I'm happy with them. I'm happy with them, is what I would say. Charlie Thomas says, the only thing here we have over Oz is their forwards are way bigger, but Kiwis look awful versus Lebanon. Kiwis did look great versus Lebanon, and I think that was a big reason as to why I've still got Lebanon down here. It's because I think that if New Zealand were on their best game, they trounced Lebanon there, but Lebanon were up for it. They were monstering it. They actually were 1 metre away from tying the game up in the 60th minute, but they didn't get it, and then Joey Manu put on a show and scored got a try and a try assist, and then it was game over, and then the send-off happened, and that was gone for the Lebanese. So look, I was okay with it. I was okay with it. Sebastian Grabber says, Lebanon won some people's hearts after the Kiwis game. I agree. Colin Command says, Narcissus won't beat Ireland without Dewey. I disagree with you. Ireland's basically England's B-side. I'm going to disagree with you. Furutika Isan says, New Zealand is the team to beat this World Cup. Disagree still. It's always going to be Australia, lad. It's always going to be Australia. They won 8 of the last 9 World Cups, and New Zealand didn't look impressive against Lebanon. Colin Command says, Ireland is made of Super League talent across the board. Don't forget Kieran Jodoff. That's cool, but I disagree with you pretty significantly. Ryan Zagas, of course he was. Pool D is so unfair. Why is Pool D so unfair? It's actually probably the closest group of the lot. It's actually really good. I think that group is the best drawn group of the lot. You know, Papua New Guinea and Tonga are on a very similar level, and then you go to the next 2 down, which is Cook Islands and Wales, who are a very similar level. And you know, it's not a wild shock if Cook Islands beat Papua New Guinea. I think it would be a shock, but it wouldn't be out of this world. So I think it's the most even group of the lot, actually. I think it's the most even group of the lot. But alright, let's move on to the next one here, guys. If you like I said, guys, if you want to change it, that's your opinion. This is my power rankings here, and if you want your own power rankings, feel free to create your own channel. But the best I could do is put this up here, and then talk to you guys in the chat about why this is. But hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here, and definitely be here at 4:30 or 4 a.m. Sorry, 4 a.m. AST, 5 a.m. Muppet time, New South Wales, 6 a.m. Fiji, 7 a.m. New Zealand for the Australia versus Scotland game. Tomorrow morning I will be here with you guys. But we move into the top 8 now, and we are going to chuck up the Irish. I thought that it was a decent win, but it was also against Jamaica. You know, and people have been underestimating the absolute shit out of this performance in regards to... people have been underestimating the shit out of the fact that their opposition was Jamaica. Jamaica are 16th. This is their first tournament. They didn't play well for the most part. They were fun to watch, but in the same sense, we know what we're going to get from Jamaica in this tournament. This game here proves absolutely nothing in regards to the Irish, because they took on a team that is a walkover and a wash in this competition, right? Yes, okay, Ireland played well. Against who? Who did they play well against? These guys, besides Ashton Golding, I guarantee you, and most of you guys don't even know Ashton Golding. I liked Mo Agoro, but we didn't know about it beforehand. Alex Young is not Dom Young, his brother. You know, their halves, who are they? Their forwards, who are they? Maybe a lot of them play Championship or lower team Super League, but the point of the matter is that who did the Irish actually beat? I don't learn anything from this game about Ireland. I don't know anything about this game. I haven't learned anything about this game from Ireland's perspective, in my personal opinion. I get that people think that they might be better. Clone Commander, I get you have an opinion, man, but in the same sense, I'm disagreeing with a lot of your opinions, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, I think that was fine, and maybe they could improve based off this week's game, because they have to obviously take on Lebanon, who I think that Lebanon do win that game even without Dewey. But they do have to take on Lebanon, and that's going to be the game to show if they can go into the second week for the quarterfinals, sorry. The second round is what I probably should say there. But I just think that I don't know anything about the Irish based off that. There's just nothing that proves it. Yes, they've got Jimmy Jolliffe. Yes, they've got Luke Keary. Yes, they've got heaps of Super League talent. But that game doesn't prove anything to me. It doesn't prove shit because they took on Jamaica. Like any team would beat that. And I actually think that Ireland should have won by more. If you're taking on Jamaica, you should be winning by more there. Cool. Jamaica, new team, still the best team they could put together from their country. All due respect. But that Irish team should have been scoring more for me. I know they still scored 48, but I would have expected them to. I would have expected them to do a lot better than what they did. Isan Tikas, if you call me Isan one more time, I'm going to report this live to head office. Sorry, Isan. Daniel says, traditionally, crowds in England watch English games, but not others, and there aren't many other nationalities in Northern England. We've kind of gone over this before, to be honest with you. We've kind of gone over this and the reasoning for why. It's not a massive sport, obviously, it's not a massive sport in England. Rugby union is obviously a lot bigger in regards to the country. Damon says Ireland should have scored 70. Well, it's like, it feels rude and ridiculous to say that though, because that's such a big scoreline. Like, it's just such a big scoreline to be scoring 70 there. But I just personally can't rate them higher than these other teams because I still am not convinced about them overall. I want to see them against Lebanon, who is at least a half decent team and a physical team. Lebanon is physically solid, which is going to be proving really tough here for the Irish. And then obviously, the Irish will also have to take on an even better team in the Kiwis next Saturday at 4:30 AM. So, yeah, this week they take on Lebanon. This is the big game for them. They have to win this game to progress to the quarterfinals, but it's going to be a really close one, man. Really, really close one. Jared Ford says a lot of sport crowds around the world are well down numbers, not NRL. Cologne Command says Ireland missed like more than half their kicks. Oh my god, bro. Oh, I get you like the Super League, bro, but jeez. Timmy Carr says, I hope New Zealand will be taking it easy on the Jamaicans. They are $1 to win right now. They're not even, you can't even make any money on them. You put $100 on them, if they win, you get $100 back. So, literally no point, right? But yeah, they should, hopefully. Isan Ticker says Kiwis are stronger than Roos. Okay, Isan, settle it down, mate. You had too much to drink tonight. Sebastian Garrett says, we can't tell if they did their best or they just took it easy as Jamaica's first opponent. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. That's what I'm saying. This is why I've still got them there. So, look, they take on Lebanon. We'll know a lot more after this week. If they lose to Lebanon without Adam Dewey in their sixth, then they'll probably drop them off a little bit. If they win, then that'll rise them. It will rise them a bit there. But all right, let's move on to number 7 here now, guys. We'll get into the top 7, and we do have the Fijians. Now, this is a bit of a controversial one because obviously I know a lot of people are like, wait a second, where is Samoa? But they will come, don't you worry. Fiji weren't too bad against Australia. They lost 42-8 there. Obviously, I'm a big believer in the Fijian talent. You guys know me. I love Fiji. My daughter's determined Fijian. I'm always going to support Fiji. They scored the first try of the match, which is actually a trend that we saw this weekend where the opposition, who were the underdogs, would score first, and then the favourites would run home over the top of them. I thought Fiji did okay. They still got beaten by 34 points in a game that Australia did not play anywhere near their best footy. They just played okay, and they did what they needed to do. But, Fiji were defensively sound for probably the first, I'd say, 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes, but then after that, obviously, Australia just ran rampant over them. Their team is still very much lacking in regards to the spine. Tuna Taruva, I like him. Still young, though. Cynthia Molandrecki, sorry, not a big believer. Brandon Wakeham, also, sorry, not a big believer. He's a New South Wales Cup talent who can't really get into that Bulldog system. Abix Akotasau, I love him, though, but he's realistically the only guy there. Their forwards, look, they've got William Kickout, and I think they were okay for the most part. The guys with Kickout didn't do anything. I think that they're an okay team, and look, they're definitely around that maybe 5 through to 8 area, 5 through to 7 area. I don't think they go any lower than 7, but they're definitely through 5 through 7. But I just don't think this is the tournament for Fiji. Fiji have made the last 3 semi-finals of a World Cup in a row. I don't think they do it this time around. Obviously, they would have to go through New Zealand to get there, and I don't think that happens. But yeah, it's just not Fiji's tournament. I think they've got a lot of tinkering to do in regards to working on getting a 5'8" or some more spinal players into the team over the next few years. Because, yes, I like Tunu Taruva. He's young. He's going to have a good future. But you need a half. You really need to find a half there to be put into that team that's not just simply New South Wales Cup, or I'm not even sure where City Molandrecki does play. Special Gary says, we can't tell if they did. That's right. That's the previous comment. I would have had Fiji above Samoa, but I get where you're coming from. I'll explain why I've got Samoa above them. Elisabeth Tonga says Jamaica should stick to core running. I think give them time, man. I think you go back a few years, we could have said the same, like a similar joke about Tonga. You know, Tonga weren't exactly at their greatest for forever. Ever since 2017, they've been really, really good. But it's not like they played fantastic on the weekend either. But overall, you know, Jamaica are an emerging nation, lower than an emerging nation, but maybe one day they could really focus on it. Like I said, with the West Indies not making Cricket World Cup for the first time in their history, maybe they might start focusing away from cricket and go into rugby league, where they've got a team in the World Cup. Maybe the future could be bright for Jamaica. So let's not shit on Jamaica too much there. There's no point shitting on a team that is just coming into the competition. We're going to build them up and beat them up and say, you did well. And they didn't do too badly. They only lost by 46 points to Ireland. You know, it's not a horrible loss for Jamaica in perspective-wise, but they are still down there at the bottom of the table in regards to the power rankings, personally. Brian Robinson says, Kikau caused a lot of issues for them, needs to be smarter. Yeah, I agree. Chloe Mayer says, Fiji is mainly domestic players. That is absolutely correct. Suni Tarova plays for the Panthers. Mike Asibo plays for the Eels. Kevin Ngama has played for the Super League, plays for the Roosters, played for many teams. Sammy Valaway plays for the Canberra Raiders. Mithiali Volukachipani plays in the Super League. Siti Maladreki, I think that's a local player. Brandon Wakeham, New South Wales Cup for the Bulldogs. Tuikami Kamita, Melbourne Storm. Apisa Kotosau, Penrith Panthers. Kungfuni Yayawa, not too sure. I think maybe Super League, I'm not too sure. Filiami Kikau, Penrith Panthers / Bulldogs now, obviously. Soya Wong, I think from the Roosters system. Lamar Manuelo Lavave from the Gold Coast Titans system. Bedna Kumbawai, Super League, used to play for the Gold Coast Titans. Taniela Shandrugu, not too sure. Panioni Tangi Tomua, not too sure. Jawasa Dorodolangi, not too sure. The interchange, not too sure. But that's literally a lie. They're not local talent. They're not local talent at all. Most of these boys are from rugby league teams in Australia and also England. So no, not true at all. Not true at all. They're not mainly domestic players in regards to Fiji. West Indies have hit rock bottom, so had C-Man. Robin Arizoris is Usain Bolt is there to watch the game. Hope they score some tries. Is he actually? That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Jason Lee says, one day you'll become a commentator for the NRL Trust. Appreciate you, dude. I appreciate you, man. But let's move on to the next one here, guys. I love my Fiji, but they're just there for the time being. Hopefully, they do win this game this week against the Italians, which you would assume they will definitely. But hopefully they win that game. William Kikau a little bit less in regards to the discipline, and we're able to get a bit more of a ticker going regarding Fiji getting some points on the board. But let's go to number 6 now, and we do have the Samoans. Here they are. Now, these guys, going into this World Cup, were top 3. Most people had them in a top 3 position. So they have dropped off enough here. You cannot be telling me that Samoa have dropped off below Fiji based off one game. The talent that this team possesses can easily turn this around in the next 2 games. They had a tough game. That's fine, I get it. They played England on their own home soil in their first game of the tournament. Does that mean that Samoa now cannot win the World Cup? Absolutely goddamn not. Their team is built off of momentum. Their team is built off of energy, and their team is built off of hype. This has been poor. But now, they get to take on 2 teams that they should be absolutely romping through. They should be absolutely romping through. So, in the next game, obviously, Samoa will get to take on Greece, and the other one is France, and they should be romping through both of them. I don't care the thought process about France, they should be romping through them. Go through their team lineup here, and you know that just because they lost that game 60-6 just means that that was a bad day at the office. They're probably going to win this week by 70. You know, Suwali, not really a fullback for me, but the fact of the matter is, he definitely, on his day, is a very, very good player. Brian To'o, one of the best wingers in the world. Isaac Tungo and Stephen Crichton, both premiership winners. Hamisa Tabuafo on the wing, he's out now, so we can't look at him. Jerome Luai, he's a wanker, but he's a good player, but it's a wanker, didn't really work out. Milford, not a good player. Not 2015 anymore. He is not a good player anymore. I'm sorry, for me and my personal belief, you know, we make a joke about Milford, it's all a good laugh, but realistically speaking, Milford is not 2015 anymore. He should be there, and he's not going to be there this week, I don't think. But I think he's injured or something like that. Josh Papali'i and Jimmy Paulo, still very good forwards there. Old, but very good forwards. Dan Levi, he's okay. He's signed with the NRL team recently. Jaden Stewart, Josh Allier, Instagram blocker. Look, okay backline, not the greatest of back rows. And then Brandon Hamlin, I think, is injured, so somebody else comes in there. They've got quite a few injuries here, Samoa, but I am not willing to drop this team off completely and utterly just because of one bad performance against the team that hosted the first game of the World Cup in their own home country, and people had, you know, didn't believe in them necessarily. England still have a good team, and you've got to respect England for that. That's why they're obviously still up higher here. But Samoa, for me, are definitely still a team in the top 6, and you could still make an argument that they could have actually been above Papua New Guinea too, who obviously haven't come up yet. You could definitely make the argument that Papua New Guinea have not gone above them yet. But I'm happy to put them below them because I was really impressed with Papua New Guinea, and I have been raging hot about Papua New Guinea for ages now. You guys know that. And they performed quite well. So that's why I think they might be biased, but at the same time, a lot of people will try to come in here telling me the Samoa should be 16th, which was just legitimately ludicrous. So yeah, it was fine. I'm okay with the 60-6 loss for now. If they go and lose this game, then they're going to drop off out of the top 8 for sure. They'll drop off big time because they cannot be losing to any of France or to Greece. And if they lose to Greece, if they don't win by at least 50 against Greece, then there's going to be alarm bells ringing, son. There'll be alarm bells ringing more so than what's happened just now. All right, Daniel says I think he was meaning that a lot of Fiji players were actually born in Fiji instead of the other island nation teams. Oh, that doesn't make any sense though. What's the point for that though? Isan Thika says, hype train, whole lot of hype there, mate. Yeah, they had a whole lot of hype and it didn't pan out. But I'm just saying that it didn't pan out this one time. You're going to give them an easy game now. Get the hype going. You get an easy game again. You get the hype going again. And they got to the quarterfinals. They've got the hype momentum. They're taking on their biggest rival in Tonga. They're going to be up for that game. Do I think they win that game? No, I think Tonga still win that game. But the fact of the matter is that Samoa is a very high-paced, high-energy, high-motivated team based off of how they're rolling. It's not about like Tonga or Papua New Guinea who play for their jersey and are so passionate about their jersey. Samoa have never been like that. Sorry, Samoa fans, but you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. Samoa are a different breed. They need good results to then get a motor going. That was not a good result there. Get a good result this week. Okay, now we're the shit again. All right, now we're going to win again. All right, they've got the Panthers players. Look at those guys who all think they're the shit. You got Jerome Lua who thinks he's a mad dog. You got Stephen Crichton who thinks he's a mad dog. Isaac Targo, haven't really heard too much from him, so I'm not too sure if he's got the same thought process, but he's still a Penrith Panther, I guess. You've got Spencer Leniu, who is also in that same situation. So I'm just saying, be careful of writing this team off. Be very, very careful. Do they win the World Cup? Probably not. But I'm not completely off them like a lot of people are. Jason says, I heard one stream you had a favourite team and you might be a little biased, but who's your favourite team? Well, I'm from Australia, but I also love Fiji because of my daughter. But if it's with the NRL, the Gold Coast Titans. Ryan Zagos says, apparently India Rugby League team. They do, yeah, they do. Clone Commander says, Samoa favourites against England, remember? Who gives a shit? That's not what this is about. It's not about who were favourites and whatnot and who lost. That's not the point. The point of the matter is, whether they were favourites or not favourites, they lost by a big margin. I don't care who the favourites were, man. The point of the matter is that Samoa lost the game. I tipped England. I kept saying to you guys, Samoa were not favourites this game. I kept telling you guys for the whole week leading up to it, Samoa should not be favourites this game. England are the favourites. It's not about who the favourites were, though. It's about the fact that I'm not willing to write off a team based off one game, and the one game was against probably the second hardest game, or even the hardest game of the week one, to get that bit of kind of correlation going with your team, right? Samoa didn't have a warm-up match either, mind you. They didn't have a warm-up match. Tonga had a warm-up match. England had a warm-up match. Fiji had a warm-up match, France had a warm-up match, Australia didn't have a warm-up match, which showed as well. But yeah, I'm not willing to write this Samoan team off. I'm sorry, I'm not. If they lose this week, then I will. If they lose this week, then they will. Colonial Man says Hong Kong has a league team. They do, yeah. A lot of places that you wouldn't expect to have league teams, yeah. Sebastian Gamma says that's why I would have had the French above Italy. Despite the first round, they would have won the head-to-head contest. But I disagree with you. Same thing with Fiji and Samoa. I disagree with you, Sebastian. I really do believe Italy could win that game. I'm putting my leg out here for Italy. I think Italy have a sneaky team. I understand that people have that belief process in France that they're a very good team, and for all that could be well, they could beat them, and they will be favourites going into it. But I honestly think that Italy are a better team than you and everybody else is making out to be. I watched them, I think they were good, and I enjoyed watching them play. So if they prove me wrong, then happy to come back here and say, you know what, I was wrong. But for the time being, I'm happy to put Italy above them because I enjoyed watching Italy play, and I think that they played quite well and could translate into playing and beating France if they did play. But they're not going to have to play, obviously, because they're in a completely different group. Judgment League says, I was disappointed in Samoa on Saturday. I had England to win, but didn't see that result. Only Suali'i stood out for them. Did he, though? He knocked the ball on quite a few times. I thought he was pretty average. Was at the game and looking forward to seeing that. Samoa team. I think we were all really excited to see it. I think we were all really excited to see that Samoan game. It just didn't work out for him. It didn't. I didn't. And for years, I've been also telling you guys that Samoa are tracking to be above Tonga, and people were believing that, and everyone was starting to say, "Oh, well, wait a second, that's actually correct. Samoa are overtaking Tonga." But then it all came kamikatsa. And also, we'll say that Tonga have their own issues as well, but they just didn't lose by a big margin. But they really lost to a team that were 13-1 underdogs against them in Papua New Guinea, which I have been saying is ridiculous odds for a while. But Tonga didn't exactly play too well against Papua New Guinea. Let's put that out there. Daniel says, I think a team like Samoa had a lot of rust. Same with Australia. They haven't played many international games recently, especially with the team's core, so I feel like they will only get better from here. Exactly right, because in the mid-season international test, when they took on the Cook Islands, they won that game pretty easily. However, Brian To'o wasn't there. He was with New South Wales. Jerome Luai was with New South Wales. They had a heap of guys out. That were, I think Stephen Crichton was with New South Wales. They had a heap of guys out. So, yes, this is the first time this team has ever played together. Yes, there was a lot of rust. Is that an excuse? Not a huge excuse, but it's enough to kind of warrant, let's wait for another week to see. Society Solossi said, I think Samoa still has 2 big games in them, same as Tonga. I agree. Neither used up their big games last weekend. I think Papua New Guinea has only 2 big games in them, but have used one of those against Tonga. That's a good point. It's a good point that maybe Papua New Guinea only has 2 big games, but in the same sense, they will still be beating Cook Islands and Wales. They will still beat those 2, but I do understand where you're coming from. Chev says Samoa will flatten Tonga in the quarterfinals. Crazy comment considering you just lost by 60. Jared Ford says Milford is better than you and I. That's cool. And what's your point? Like, okay, I'm not pretending like I'm a Samoan international or a Rugby League international half, right? He is a Rugby League international half. So I'm allowed to judge that based off what I see. This is what I say to people all the time. You are allowed to have a criticising opinion. I said this about, I've seen... there's channels out there, big channels out there, who make it as if like you're not allowed to insult a player. You can insult a player in regards to their playing skills, just don't go over the line, don't call them, don't actually go for their, just don't go for them as a person, right? That's why I say to you guys, Isan Masters as a bloke, outside of footy, probably fine, probably a great bloke. I've actually seen him outside of it, and we didn't exactly have great problems. He's fine outside of footy. Then you go and have a look at Jerome Luai. Guarantee you that he is a great bloke in person. Warrior Hargraves, great bloke probably. Yes, obviously they're still footy boys and whatnot. They've got their problems and issues and all that type of shit. But when I'm insulting and when I'm criticising a player, I'm criticising them based off of what I know. I've been watching this all my life too. I'm allowed to have an opinion, and you're allowed to have an opinion based off of what. I'm not having to go to anybody here, but I'm just saying, like, you're allowed to. I'm telling people that you are allowed to criticise a player based on comparisons with other players. You can say a player is shithouse because he's not as good as Cooper Cronk, right? Like, if you think Luai is not as good as Cooper Cronk, you call him shithouse. You can call him shithouse because he's not as good as him. That's a fair statement, But Jerome Luai is still a very good player, but it's a wanker as well. Just don't take it that too far and go and message them on Instagram, calling them every racist name under the sun, which a lot of people do. Super Tigers broke out of 5. We'll get there, mate. Just settle down, mate. Just relax, champo. Hey, Isan Tika, settle down. Isan is an awesome player. You just settle down, Isan. I know you think you're a good player, Isan, but just quiet down. All right? Just let the adult speak right for a second. All right, let's move on to number 4 here. Number 5. Let's move on to number 5 here, and we are going to go to bing bong, ding, Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea. I thought they played very well. I thought they actually should have won. Not gonna lie, thought they should have won. Thought they should have beat Tonga there. There was quite a few controversial calls throughout the game that I definitely disagree with in regards to it. But let's not talk too much about that. Let's talk more so about the team performance itself. They took on a team that they were 13-1 underdogs against. Tonga came in as the raging hot favourites. They did not have Tamalolo. They didn't bring Dave Fafita on for 60 minutes, which was weird. They actually made quite a few interesting selections, but Papua New Guinea played it tough. This is what I say to you guys all the time. They may not have the NRL talent specifically, but what they do have is the passion. They do have the excitement, they have the belief in their own system and the belief in their own team, and they die for their own team. Both these slogans should be Mata Tonga and whatever is die for Papua New Guinea in Papua New Guinea. That should be the name of it, right? Because they're both the exact same. Just obviously Tonga has more NRL talent and was able to get the win in the end. That's fine. Papua New Guinea take on Cook Islands, and then they do have the They have Cook Islands and then they have the Welsh for the rest of this tournament. So you would assume that Papua New Guinea do win those games. But yeah, Alex Johnson was fine. You know, Dan Russ on the wing, not a big fan of. Obviously, Xavier Coates was out injured. I think Xavier Coates comes in there and plays a lot better, personally, for me. Obviously, they would have had a try, Xavier Coates, because Dan Russell, he hugged that try line a little bit too close when he didn't need to. He could have easily come inside and scored an easy try. But unfortunately, he was too close to the sideline, put his foot over the line for no reason at all. Xavier Coates doesn't do that. Nana McDonald, Justin Olam were fine. Roderick Ty, thought he was great, man. Thought he was great. Carl Labert, Lachlan Lamb, not great NRL talent, but did really well in this game. You know, they know how to play with each other. They've played on the international level now for a little bit, and they know how to work alongside each other. I loved their forwards. Wellington Albert and Sylvester Namo were fantastic. Nixon Putt, Reece Martin were great too, and Jacob Alec was okay in the lock. But you got that number 9, Edwin Ipape. Wowee. He was absolutely phenomenal this week. The Papua New Guineans in the chat is saying over and over again how good this guy is and how exciting he is to watch. Well, we got to see it, and he did not disappoint. So he was definitely the player match there. Mackenzie Yeh, loved him as well. He should be starting though. Emmanuel Wayne, Kevin Appo, and Watson Bowers. This team is solid, man. A really, really solid team. So I expect them to go through as number 2 in the group. I don't see Tonga losing any other game. That's why. Which would mean that they have to take on the English. And I'm not crazily out of saying they can't win that game. I do think they can, but I do have the English winning it. But I think Papua New Guinea were very good. So I've got them in the top 5, and I could actually make an argument that they could have, if it wasn't for the fact that they'd lost, I could have put them in 4th actually. Jeffers wasn't directed at you, Blaze. No, it's okay, Joe. You don't worry. Don't worry. Lane Balsing says, my auntie knows someone who knows Luai, and apparently he's a great bloke on the field. My dog's sister's best friend's auntie, who used to watch TV, and on that TV show was a man named Drew Carey, and Drew Carey's son-in-law, whose brother's sister's mother's dog's second removed cousin, was actually the child of an owner in Papua New Guinea who knew someone from the Gold Coast who then also knew a second cousin, Jerome Luai, and that person said that Jerome Luai was actually a pretty good bloke. So yeah, no, I agree. Romy England says, Romy says England, Kiwis, Tonga, Australia, and PNG. Ooh, yeah, I don't know about that. East Antigua says most of the guys haven't played any footy for a couple months. Agreed. Sebastian Graham says, Kummels played beautifully. It will be an honour for the Lions to beat them in the quarters. You dirty dog. How dare you? English people, settle down. You settle down. One win. I tell you, they're off it. Society Lossie said, people don't remember Tonga 2017 against New Zealand and England. Against Lebanon, we were lucky to win. Similar game to PNG game. I agree, Society Lossie. I absolutely agree. That Lebanon game was incredible. It was incredible. Lebanon only lost 22-20 or 24-22. It was only a 2-point win to the Tonga. I think to the Tongese there, to Tonga. But yeah, no, I absolutely understand what you're saying. Yeah, Tonga do need to improve though. They do definitely need to improve. But that wasn't their best team lineup, I would say. I would say that. Omar Woods and Pape played well. Pape played very well, man. Very, very well. Do you let Channel 7 know? I've told my second cousin twice removed to go let Channel 7 know, absolutely. Remember since number 4 Australia? You don't know what we're talking about. Society Lossi says Tamalolo, Hapawada and Siliva Havili definitely start in the quarterfinal. Amon and Fafita may also play big roles. Why is Havili not starting in the first place? Daniel says, do you think Edwin Ipape will make his way to the NRL? He's currently playing for Lee Centurions. A couple of teams could use a good hooker. Who, though? Right, so this is a question that I've actually had asked me in the last couple of days, and I'm trying to figure out who would be best for, right? Because the Cowboys have got Robson, they're not going anywhere. Maybe the Broncos, but they've got about 50 million hookers who are all incredibly underwhelming there. So I don't think they'll go for another hooker, even though he's probably better than their hookers. The Titans have gone and bought Sammy Verrill, so they're out. The Warriors are happy with Wade Egan. The Knights are maybe a shout, but that'd be such a weird addition there. But the Knights may be a shout. Canberra also may be a shout. Storm, they've got Harry Grant. Sharks, they've got Blake Brayley. Actually, no, sorry, Jade Brayley's the Knights, so count them out. But then again, I personally would go Edwin Ipape over Brayley based off of what we saw for one game. Because remember, it is one game still. Like, it is one game. But I did like what I saw. Then you go to the Sharks. Blake Brayley's not going anywhere. Dragons. Yeah, you can have a shout at the Dragons. Actually, it might work out there. Manly's a great shout, actually. Manly don't have a hooker. I'd say Manly, if anyone. I'd say Manly, because they've obviously had... who's that hooker? He's Papua New Guinea, has played for Manly, Broncos. He's played he played for the Sharks as well. What was that guy's name? Sebastian. I can see your comments, Jacko. But who was that? What was that guy? Oh, Seguiaro. That's the one. You guys haven't said it yet, but it is Seguiaro that I'm thinking about there. I'm on board Seguiaro. He was at Manly as well. So maybe they might be able to translate and use him, because obviously their hooker dilemmas have been going on since the judiciary court hearings of certain players. And also losing up Sakota. So maybe Manly. But that's it for Papua New Guinea, guys. We'll move on from there. So Papua New Guinea are in 5th position, and I like them. I really do like them. Alright, but I do see maybe Samoa jumping. Maybe. We'll see how they go. But alright, number 4 here is going to obviously be Tonga. Sebastian, settle down. Champion. Tonga didn't exactly look fantastic. I honestly could have... If it wasn't for Tonga beating Papua New Guinea, I really wanted to put Papua New Guinea above them because I thought that based on the game itself, I thought Papua New Guinea did actually play better, arguably. But in the same sense, like I said, it comes down to pre-World Cup tournament thought process as well, and they won by a close margin. If you're going by the result on itself, you actually could probably put Papua New Guinea above them based on the controversialness about it and how Papua New Guinea played up to their opposition and Tonga went down. But you do have to go and say, look, Tonga's still a better team overall, you would assume. They didn't have their full team there. David Fafita off the bench 60 minutes later was stupid by Wolves. Sort that out. Saliva Havili, it should be as the hooker there. Loved Isaiah Katoa. They've been saying that. Everyone's been saying that. Isaiah Katoa is the guy there for that number 7. I don't like Talatal Moan at the moment. I don't think he's as good as the hype suggested. Don't mind Talatal Quarter there, but I think their backline, as I've been saying, was pretty underwhelming. Just throwing it out there, I think their backline has proven me right that it's actually relatively underwhelming. Their forward pack is very, very good. Fanil Blake, love him. Kolomatunga, the hooker role, silly. Very, very silly. Didn't throw a backwards pass all night. Did not throw a backwards pass all night, referee. Maybe sort that out in future. But Kolomatunga, I have no idea where Christian Wolf has come out and said that he might play hooker again. If he plays hooker again, you're stupid. Tavita Totola and Adam Fanil Blake, I didn't see Totola play all game, to be honest with you. Kafusi was okay. Olakawatu was okay. Their forwards didn't actually do a great deal. Takiyaho was probably one of the better. But yeah, their forwards didn't actually do as much as you would expect. Mikey Fodawaker was good when he came on, and Dave Fafita was good when he came on. And this is why you need to bring him on 20, 30 minutes in, get a bit more game time there. If you want to take him off after half time for 10 minutes and then bring him on for the final 30, be my guest. But you need to be giving him more than 20 minutes in that game. That's just silly there from Christian Wolf, absolutely. But yeah, there's play to come back here for Tonga. They've got an easy run home now with the Cook Islands and also they've got this week. They don't play Cook Islands this week. They play the other team in their group, which is Wales, which they'll get an easy win there. They're literally $1 favourites to win. Wales are 51-1 odds. So yeah, I've got Tonga still in the top 4. There's no argument to put them in the top 3. There is no argument on any planet that puts them in the top 3. But there is arguments to put them outside the top 4. There is an argument. Jonathan says Australia going to be Scotland tomorrow. The sky is blue. Logan Paulsack says Manly will take anyone, even if it's Aaron Woods. That's a good call. It's a very good call. Client Commander says 2017 Tonga is better than 2022 Tonga. I think it's too early to tell. Let's just wait for the Tuesday game against Wales, and then we'll see a bit better. Especially thank God, mate. You're lucky. I'm going to put him over England in a second. Luai's grand final. Luai's grand final influence really shined through versus. Jerome Luai. True. Isan Tika says Tonga number 2. No, mate. No, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. He goes, no way, man. I'm sorry, you don't know what you're on. You have no idea what you're talking about, Isan. Isan Masters, just need to settle down, mate. They literally nearly lost to a team that were 13-1 underdogs, brother. Like, you can't have Tonga in the top 2 right now. There's no way that you've got them above England, Australia, or New Zealand in any planet of any world. Most Tongans would understand that as well because they just, there's a lot to be proven in regards to Tonga before I put them into that top 3 for the time being. Shev says, they nearly lost to PNG, exactly right. Big Papa says, Baller Blaze, have seen the power rankings done for the NFL. How are they calculated, measured? A lot of factors, bro. You have to go back to the beginning of the stream and I told everyone kind of how it works. But yeah, I won't go through it again. But yeah, the beginning of the stream. Fesh Boy says PNG was robbed. I would agree too, Fesh Boy. I do. I honestly do agree. Dale says Tonga needs a better spine to compete with England, Australia, and New Zealand. I agree. Absolutely. And their backline's underwhelming, as I said. Their backline's underwhelming. So yeah, once they get a better spine and a better backline, their forwards need to do a lot more as well. But they've got 2 easy games in Wales and Cook Islands, man. Wales and Cook Islands. Omar Ward says 4th place is fair for Tonga. I think so too. Logan Ball says, I don't know if you know this, but I don't think Manly have a known 5'8". I think like the only 5'8" is K Weeks. What's the point of this? It has nothing to do with anything. We spoke about a hooker before. Josh Schuster will be a 5'8" next year. But alright guys, let's move on to the next one here. So that's got Tonga in number 4. In number 3, maybe a bit of a surprise here, but we do still have the English Rugby League team. I'm aware they won by a big margin. I'm very well aware. Sebastian, you can keep subscribed, but I know you're going to say you're going to subscribe. England are still number 3, guys. They still haven't gone above New Zealand or Australia. They're still the teams to beat. Right, if New Zealand and Australia both have underwhelming game 2s again, then maybe I'm happy to put England a little bit higher. But just because they've won one game here does not necessarily prove they're going to do it against 2 of the really consistent big-time teams. England have never won a World Cup before. When was the last time they even beat Australia? You know, the fact of the matter is they were in the World Cup final last time, they still lost to them. It's crazy to me that anyone can put them above New Zealand or Australia right now. Based off of one game, cool. Off one game, if you're talking about the first game of the World Cup, then you put him in first, easily, 100%, guaranteed, first. But there's a lot of factors that go into this here, right? There's a lot of rugby league still to be played. There is still a lot to be proven here with this English team. The first 20 minutes was disappointing from them. They need to change that going into the next couple of games. They've got France here, they should do away with France, and then they also have... They also have Greece. They should win those 2 games easy. Then they take on Papua New Guinea, a very physical, dominant, strong team. I think England should win that game. I still think England probably do make the finals, but I can't guarantee that they beat. I can't guarantee they beat Tonga. I can't guarantee it when they get to that that semi-final. There's not 100% that I guarantee they beat Papua New Guinea, but I do think they do beat them. But England are very likely to get to the final, but I still can't see them beating Australia and New Zealand. So why would I have England above those 2 teams when I've still got those 2 teams right now above them? If Australia or New Zealand disappoint this week and England get another comprehensive 60-70 point win, I'm happy to put England above them. For the time being, I'm not going off too much on my rocker based off one game to say that England are better than Australia and New Zealand. I refuse. I refuse based off one game. Coin Commander, no, England have never won a World Cup. That was not a professional competition. Esan Ticker says, no mate, not Esan, you can run it straight. Settle down, Esan. Jet McDonald's is bullshit. It's not bullshit. Jared Ford says, the market is full of good hookers until Uncle Stan Martin, play manager, can't find quality clubs for quality nines. Malcolm says New Zealand 1, Oz 2. You wish. Fesh Boy says Australia's still top even if they have no top players. Johannes Jake says let's go Papua New Guinea. Good. Let's get around to Papua New Guinea there. Tom McKitty says the referee was the man of the match in Tonga versus Papua New Guinea game. No rocket science there, but Papua New Guinea is so used to such. It happened in 2017 with England in the quarterfinal. Kummel's got done dirty in that quarterfinal. Let's separate that. I believe he got robbed in this game here, but I don't believe he got robbed in that game in the 2017 quarterfinals. But I think there was definitely really dubious refereeing in this game. So I agree with you there, Tom, but not that quarterfinal game. Sebastian says, winner between Kangaroos and Kiwis are absolute favourites against the other finals. No matter who they are, I can't complain. Thank you, Sebastian. That's an Englishman there who is a very devout Englishman who understands exactly what I'm saying here. QT says, I would assume Fafita wasn't given much game time due to running risk of injury, and losing an impact player like that early would be a big blow to Tonga, especially playing a team like Papua New Guinea. That's cool, but you want to win your game against your best opposition in the group. Papua New Guinea are the best opposition in the group. You rest them against Cook Islands if you want. Rest them against Greece. You don't rest them... Cook Islands and Wales. You rest against them. You don't rest against Papua New Guinea. Kiwis would beat England. Well, based on what I'm doing here, yes. Johanna says Australia 1, 2, New Zealand 3, PNG. PNG are not top 3, brother, right now. Alex Stanley says, and I love Papua New Guinea. Alex Stanley says, I think Australia number 1, that goes without saying, but I do think England edged New Zealand. Well, it's very close, Alex, and I will be honest with you guys here. When I was doing this list, I originally did have England in 2, right? But I did bump them down because New Zealand are still one of the top 2 favourites of the competition, and although they weren't impressive in their one game against Lebanon, they're still one of the teams to beat against England. I don't think that England are better than New Zealand yet. Yet is the key word there. And I don't think that England are better than Australia. I haven't said the word yet. But the point of that is that those 2 teams are still above them. If they both disappoint this week, I'll put England in first, whatever. But for the time being, you'd be going off your rocket and put them in the first place based off one game. One game. Glick says Bunker been hotboxing. Yeah, they were definitely hotboxing during that game. Malcolm says there's no way England Muppets beat the Kiwis. Big Copper says okay, caught up now. Kind of understand why Samoa are 6 according to a method, as I thought they'd be lower. Speaking as a Samoa supporter, yeah, you could easily put them lower, but I just based off what I said, you can go back and look at it afterwards as well, because I will put the timestamps of all the teams afterwards. I'll go through. Colin Commander says if PNG was playing in Papua New Guinea, that'd be top 3. Well, Papua New Guinea had that home game against Tonga. Yeah, they win that game. If Papua New Guinea played that game in Papua New Guinea, yeah, they win that game against Tonga, and they would be, yeah, because England wouldn't be in the top 3 there. So yeah, I would agree. I'd probably put Papua New Guinea in the 3 there, but not now. Sebastian Gomez says England didn't prove they're better than New Zealand. England have never been better than Australia. I'm content with that. Exactly right. See, that's an individual there who can actually see stuff from a non-biased perspective. And you know, although people are going to be like, "Oh, you're Australian, you just hate England." Like, I could have easily put England below. I could have easily put England below Tonga, but I didn't, because based off the pre-World Cup favouritism, you could have actually put Tonga above them. But I didn't do that, because I still think that England are the 3rd biggest challenger of this World Cup. They're still the home favourites, but you just got to be super careful. They took on a Samoa team that played. I saw more about Samoa in that game than I did about England. Right? I saw more that team is still the team we've seen for years and decades than I did about the English team being the best. I think there was a great result there for England, but there's still things that need to be worked out for me to start believing them a lot more. So Saisai says, yeah, very hard to judge on one game. 2017, New Zealand started on fire, much better than Tonga, but got worse as the tournament went on. Exactly right. Exactly right. You know, the tournament goes on. Things change. Teams look good, and then teams look bad. Let's wait for this next game first, and then next week on Friday, you can ravage me about my selections. I feel free to do it. Next week, I'm happy to see you have a go at me for my selections this week. But they will go up and down, and we'll have like an arrow to show if they went up or down next week on Friday. I don't think Australia and New Zealand are still a tier above the rest. I disagree. They are historically strong and on paper have ridiculously talented teams, but the English big win makes it close, but it's still lots to do. It's one game. Australia and New Zealand are definitely still a tier above the rest. That's not even a debate. Right now, they're still definitely a tier 1 England are tier 1. What are you talking about? England have always been tier 1. What are you talking about? Big Shake says, who was the biggest surprise in the week for you? Biggest surprise in the week was probably, well, it wouldn't be Papua New Guinea, but in the same sense, I didn't see them individually as a surprise. Negative surprise, Samoa. Biggest win surprise would be biggest good surprise would probably be maybe Lebanon against New Zealand. But I would say personally for most people it would be Papua New Guinea, but I wasn't surprised by them because I knew they were good. Daniel says, would you say the home ground advantage tips the England versus Tonga matchup? I reckon on paper they're pretty close. On paper they're pretty close. Alright, that's going to be a good game, man. That's going to be a real good game of semis. Jeez, it's like either... Okay, so this is how it works out from here, guys, just to clarify. If England make the semis, you'll either get the storyline of England taking on Samoa in a revenge game from game 1 of the groups. Or you'll get a revenge game for 2017 where England knocked Tonga out in controversial circumstances in the semi-final of the World Cup. So either way, we get a pretty good storyline here with that side of the groups. That's the more interesting side of the group until we see Australia versus New Zealand, obviously. Klein Commander says, people are forgetting Tonga almost lost to a team of Queensland Cup players. You obviously don't know anything about Papua New Guinea and you don't understand how they play at all because you don't look at that team and think a team of Queensland Cup players. No one who knows rugby league should be looking at Papua New Guinea and saying, this is why you guys did not know what I was saying going into this week, right? That comment right there is the proof of why you don't know what Papua New Guinea is, right? You don't get it. Papua New Guinea is not about the talent from the big leagues. It is about the passion they show, the care factor they have for the jersey, and the love they have for their country. And that does improve based on the lacking talent. Papua New Guinea talent here, on regards to the NRL talent up here. But because of the passion, it does bring it up to there. Does that mean they're better than Australia and New Zealand? No, but they're closer. That's just because they have those players in Queensland Cup should be down here. Should be down here because the fact of the matter is that it is such a passionate sport for that country and they are dying for that. Literally dying for their country when it comes to that. Literally, fans of their sport die watching this sport. Straight up, fact. Just throw it out there, right? Papua New Guinea come up to here because of how much that actually means to them. That comment proves to me you don't know what Papua New Guinea represents. Johnson said, I think Papua New Guinea can beat Samoa. It'd be interesting to see, but I don't think they can play each other because they have to play each other in the semi-final, and I don't think they both get there. The game that had the most viewers on the stream, say Solossi, was definitely Tonga, but Cook Islands had a lot of people on the stream too. We had decent viewers on most streams there, except for the Jamaica one, obviously. Sebastian Gomez says, best stream was the boxing stream. No, I think he was talking about, Sassai was talking about my Rugby League World Cup streams. But yeah, I think the biggest stream ever actually, Sebastian, was... Oh, no, we had 10,000 viewers on that boxing stream at one stage. But the biggest ever stream views-wise, I think, was the Olympic Sevens last year in the Olympics. But guys, let's move into number 2 here. Obviously, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new around here. We'll be doing this again next Friday. And plus, We'll be here live for every single game of the Rugby League World Cup this weekend. Get around it. But I think that we all know what's going to be happening here. We're just going to get rid of both of them here so you can see both of them. And I've got New Zealand in 2, and I do have Australia still in 1. Australia is still the number 1 until proven otherwise. Prove me wrong. You cannot take them off top of the table after they've just won against Fiji. Yeah, look, it was a getting rid of rust performance, but the fact of the matter is that they still took down a Fijian team whilst looking pretty poor themselves and won 42-8. They've won 8 of the last 9 World Cups. Australia is still the team to beat. New Zealand, they struggled against Lebanon. They got the win. They're still the second best team to beat. Right? Both these teams are very, very good at rugby league, and one game is not going to change my opinion on them being second and first. Right? If you want to put New Zealand in first, cool. If you want to put England in first, cool. But it's very silly to not have Australia in first. They still did away with a very solid opponent, Fiji. Fiji are no slouches. Fiji coming to this tournament would have been above Papua New Guinea, and they probably would have been in 6th. That top 7 there is all very, very difficult pre-tournament, right? I think that the fact of the matter is that Australia and New Zealand beat pretty much anyone on this table right now, from based off what we know. If you want to say England beat them, that's cool, that's perspective. We'll find out in the final, right? But these two teams are still the teams to beat, and I refuse to hear anything otherwise. So Size also says Samoa is still in this. They still scare me, absolutely. Big Papa says your top 5 now would have been the same prior to the World Cup, I reckon. Oh, disagree. I don't think Papua New Guinea would have been there. This is the hindsight thing. I would have had them there, but before the World Cup, Samoa would have been. People had them in the top 3. People had Samoa above England, and they would have had England in 5th behind Tonga. That's what people would have done pre-World Cup. I had England top 3, but a lot of people would have had England in the probably 5th position. I think Fiji would have been above Papua New Guinea. I think Papua New Guinea would have been going down to 7. I think Lebanon would have gone up to 8. Then all the European teams on that other side would have been pretty similar. But I think that top 7 was 3 through to 7. 3 to 7 would have changed quite drastically. Sebastian Graham says, Kiwis better pray that Joey Manu doesn't get injured. They can't slay the Kangaroos without him. Absolutely. They do need a guy like Joey Manu to win that game because he turned it on, man. They could have lost that game. And we're actually nearly on target to lose that game until Joey Manu decided to take it to another level and went bang. He just went absolutely bang and changed it. So, Isam Tigger says, we're going to choke. That's possible. That's entirely possible. But they've won 8 of the last 9 World Cups, and just because you believe that they might choke, that doesn't mean that now they go out of the top 1 spot, because they still are the best team in the world until proven otherwise. If they lose a game, then I'm happy to put New Zealand above them, but they're not going to be losing to Scotland, and they're not going to be losing to Italy. So, good luck getting Australia out of this top 1 spot here. Very much good luck to you, son. Good luck to you. Society says 1 and 2 can't change till semis. Agreed. Daniel says, where do you think the Maroons and Blues would be in his power rankings? I think I could see both of them above England but below New Zealand. Oof. Nah. I would say that the Maroons and Blues would be probably in 5th. I wouldn't be putting them above any of the top 4 there, and that's still a big call. But I could genuinely still see the Maroons and Blues in 5th position. Oh, I'd still go 4th position, actually. You can make an argument. I think England... that's hard, man, because it's different. That's a whole different ball game there. But their spine's good. Their backline's good. Their forward's good. You could make an argument for 3rd. You could. You really could make an argument for it. I don't know. That's a bit disrespectful, though. I don't really want to sit here and shit on teams that are below, but I guess Queensland and New South Wales does still have effectively the Australian team, so it's a bit of a straight up just comparison, really, because Australia's in the top 1 spot, so you'd probably put them up there. QFTs agree. Passion sums talent when it comes to World Cup games. It's like Gagai and Holmes, plays average in club games but turns up another level in Origin and international games because of the passion. Yeah, absolutely. That's why Papua New Guinea good. If it wasn't for the passion, Papua New Guinea would be... I'm telling you, I can't move it because that's a solid photo there. But if it wasn't for the talent, for the passion, Papua New Guinea probably go down to like 12, where Cook Islands are. Right? Cook Islands, if they play with the same passion and energy as Papua New Guinea, they could go up there, but they don't. Papua New Guinea are 5th because of how much they give a shit about the sport. It's their number 1 spot for sure. Esam Tigris' running commentary is legendary from this guy. Thanks, Esam. Daniel says Blues get the benefit of bringing in the Samoa boys back, and Maroons are the Maroons. Exactly right. Right. Malcolm says England home advantage strong. It's concerning. 1 game, brother. 1 game. 1 game has happened so far. Let's settle down. Champ. Just settle down, big fella. We'll go for about 10 minutes here, guys. We're just chatting away about the World Cup right now. We'll go for 10 minutes. Obviously, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. But shoot through your remaining comments. Romy says, Papua New Guinea going to lose to the Cookies. Good luck with that one. Did you know they got a big morale boost? They had a big parade in Auckland. The team was overwhelmed. No, mate. Sebastian Grumman says, England would beat New South Wales and Queensland at home, not in Australia. Home advantage wins that game. Oh, it's tough, though. I think their spines are still better. It's like, do you think Australia beat them right now? Because the Australian team is effectively those origin teams. It effectively is, you know, like... I mean, was it 2008 New Zealand and Oz teams were very good. 2022 New Zealand and Oz teams are very good. 2017, 2013, 2008. They're always very good, man. Always very, very good. But no, Romy. Cook Islands are not going to be beating the Cook Islands are not going to be beating Papua New Guinea, bro. I would love to see it though. Romy says, now, so my wife said, no, bullshit, mate. You've had too much to drink tonight. Yeah, you had too much to drink tonight. Colin Man says, oh, that's right, no, Kiwis were poor in 2018. No, you're right, no. Yeah, the Kiwis were not good in 2018. That was actually their really poor one. That was their really poor tournament. Yeah, they didn't even get past the quarters, did they? I think they lost to Fiji in the quarterfinals, didn't they? Which was a huge shock in that one. Yeah, no, I think they got beaten. So, yeah, no, 2018 New Zealand weren't good. That was probably their worst ever tournament. But, yeah, England never won a World Cup. Australia won 8 of the last 9. And New Zealand have won 1, which was obviously in 2008. That was a very good New Zealand team. Benji Marshall, they had James Maloney at the time as well. Anyway, that was a good game. Actually, you know what, guys? We'll jump off because obviously we'll be back on in the morning at 4 a.m. We're jumping back on live at 4 a.m. for the Australia-Scotland game. If you guys don't know, obviously we stream every single game live here of the World Cup. So if you're watching the game, be right here with us. If you have different opinions, obviously when this video gets uploaded live, feel free to go and put yours in the comment section, not the chat. Go in the comment section after this video goes live and let us know where you would put each team itself. I will put timestamps as well after this finishes, but for the time being, guys, I appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for week 2 of the Rugby League World Cup. Alright guys, thanks for watching, catch you later. See ya.